Hey everyone, George Christie here with Wine Industry Network. Welcome to another edition of the Win Educational Webinar Series. I'm super excited. I've got a very good friend with me today, and we're going to be talking about some really exciting things, not only for the wineries, but our consumers, our retailers, and it's just all around some pretty good stuff. So I'd like to welcome Paul Mabray here. Paul is the Chief Executive Officer for Pix. Paul, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, George. It's good to see you, my friend. And I can't wait to be doing these things in person soon.
I know, man. I'm just, you know what? We're just chomping at the bit to kind of get back in person, but we're getting there. We're getting closer. We've got our expo coming up on December 2nd. So we're super excited about that.
Yes.
So Paul, let's jump into it. There's been a lot out there about Pix. I think people are still trying to wrap their heads around exactly what is going on. So just let's start with what is Pix and how does it work?
Yeah, Pix is a discovery platform for wine. Think of it as the Google for wine, essentially. So it helps consumers find the wine they're looking for, find ways to buy the wine, and find new wines to buy.
What was the inspiration? I mean, I know you've been out there, on the front end of kind of dragging the wine industry kicking and screaming into the future here. And I know there's times it must have been terribly frustrating, and you could have probably gone into technology in some other industry that was a little bit more open and embraced it a little bit more, but you didn't, right? So you love this industry. What was it that really was the inspiration behind Pix?
So it's a combination of, 20 plus years doing wine tech, as you know, and I've been traditionally the guy that's given tools to wineries. I want them to use a tool to help themselves, whether it was e-commerce, social media management, analytics even. But as we looked at it, I think the way to really help the wine industry during this really new frontier is not just deliver them tools, but deliver them the customers. And really need to hand them customers or help them talk and touch the customers. And that's why a great search engine that reached through us to allow the winery to sell to or market to or touch the customer at the point of purchase, and not just on the web, but through the mobile phone in a restaurant or through the mobile phone in a retailer, could really dimensionally change and help them succeed through thick and thin.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you've launched, Pix is launched, and I guess it's open beta, right? Is that what does that mean?
So open beta means that we are rough around the edges. We have all kinds of warts that we're cleaning up and polishing the stone. So we're barely showing the very smallest bit of what Pix really is today. So today is the worst it's ever going to look. That's the promising thing. And it looks pretty darn good, I think. So every week we're improving our matching engine. We're adding new features and it's coming out of the water. And the open beta has people give us their email address. And we watch and learn how they're shopping through the site so we can make it better. We oftentimes ask them questions and we're learning from their behaviors how to make the site better so that when we go to full general admission in January, that it's the best foot forward. So after the search engines put us to the top of the ranking, after people send us traffic, we are perfectly able to fulfill.
So there are other recommendation engines out there in the wine space. What makes Pix different?
Yeah, we're not a recommendation engine, just to be clear. We don't recommend, obviously we help organize the world's wine into different buckets through tags but our job is to help people find the wine and buy it or help them understand more about the wine. So on the web, we're collecting all this data from retailers. So if you search for Massican or Opus One or Donham, we can help the consumer where to find it, whether it's next to them in the local retailer, whether it's direct to consumer from the winery, whether that's the fastest delivery, or whether it's all the online different entities selling the wine, because that's our functional job. And there's only one other tool that kind of does that out there, as you know. So it's only two of us in the market that actually serve this purpose.
It's really interesting. So, and I heard you talk a little bit about this on another presentation that you gave recently. And you talked about studying people's behavior at the point of purchase, and you just mentioned that as well just now. What have you learned, or what's become as maybe some of the biggest surprises that you've learned so far?
Yeah, I think the point of purchase is really the fundamental piece, which is our job, our tool, whether it's the mobile app or the web app, is to serve one function, to help the consumer at point of purchase, and really that's the only need state that consumers have. This is where they have challenges. If you think about it, I'm looking at a wall of wine. Which one do I pick? Or I've got a menu of Croatian wines I've never heard of. How do I not look like the dummy here? Or I want to find that boutique wine that my buddy shared with me the other day. Where is it sold? How can I buy it? Right. All of those are different questions. And our job is to facilitate that. What we learned is that people, it's not just price that people are sensitive at point of purchase. They actually care about things like local delivery. They want to know where they can buy it nearby them. Sometimes it's about fastest delivery. Hey, I forgot George's birthday. I got to get something today. I know he loves, Lopez de Heredia or some wine out there. So that's really interesting. We also found out in the tagging exercise that very few consumers really care about scores. Obviously, the trade does. It helps them sell wine. We've always known that it's more of a trade tool than it is a consumer tool. Right. But they were looking for other answers, that helped them decide. They had no idea who Galoni was, and they never care. They have no idea who, a myriad of different critics were. This a small sliver did, by the way. That's still important to like a core audience that does collectors or, kind of blue chip, people have been reading The Spectator all their life, but the younger consumers or even ones that are more sophisticated don't care. That was really interesting to us. So what we did is we called our buddies in San Jose at Netflix and said, hey, what do you guys do? And they're like, well, we do tagging, meta tags. And we've been working with meta tags, and we've learned that different tags affect people differently. So the 3 tags we do are one is around style, one is around flavor, and one is around story or heart, we call it. And the style one really is the one that resonates with people 3 to 1, meaning like, is this a generous wine? Is this a rich wine? Is this a silky wine? And one of the reasons I think we've kind of peeled apart the onion to find out is those are qualities that a human can have, whereas a human doesn't have pepper or blackberry. So people respond to those a little differently. And then the heart one people respond to as well, or the story one, which is, how do I want to see myself drinking this wine? Or how do I see myself as someone that would be a drinker of this wine? So drinking the wine would be like date night wine, to impress your friends wine, but seeing yourself in the wine is female winemaker, sustainable, regenerative, organic. Those are values that hit my strings, which was also interesting to me.
I think it'll be interesting to see how much you continue to learn, right? Because I think that's part of the platform, right? It's just, you're constantly studying what motivates people at that point of purchase. And I thought it was really interesting from one of the other presentations, because, for some people, as you just said, it's not about price. I want to buy directly from the producer. I want a relationship with that producer, or I want it really quickly, or I want to support my local retailer. And despite the fact that it might take maybe a little bit longer for me, or maybe it's a little bit more inconvenient. So I just think that's fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's really important. And, as we look at the carbon footprint of the world too, giving those other options to help the consumer make better, smarter decisions about just driving down the street versus waiting a week and shipping a box over the internet becomes also kind of fascinating about the values that younger consumers, or all of us, are having as we look at this kind of new, global warming.
Yeah. I mean, a topic, sadly, that will not go. It's not going to go away soon, right? But we need to be talking about it. Now, obviously, in order for this to be as impactful as you envision it, you need the wineries to participate. You need the retailers to participate, right? Because that's a part of the solution. And then ultimately, you need a consumer adoption.
Correct.
But starting with the wineries, is this, help me understand, is this something for a large winery, a small winery, any winery? Tell me a little bit about that.
So the solution's been built, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but for wineries of all sizes.
Okay.
Right? Our job is to take and build the largest wine shelf in the world, and to help highlight those different wines, whether it's a boutique producer that makes 100 cases, or the large producer based upon the buyer that's coming in there. We'll understand what that buyer looks like over time. But if they are not sitting on the shelf, they're not going to get bought. Let's just put it that way. So what we ask for the wineries is, hey, you guys go give us a connection, and minimally a Google shopping fee, which is an international standard, but we've really worked hard to integrate with systems. So we're with Commerce 7, Shopify, VinSuite, Figure, Vino Shipper. So we went out and made bespoke integrations to make it easier for those wineries. They just have to turn it on in some cases. In other cases, they're automatically on to help out, make it simple for them. And then if they don't have those, they have to go get a Google shopping fee, which is lets them be on Google Shopping and us. Okay. But again, if we'll still be selling wineries wines if they are in distribution, because we're partnering with retailers at the exact same time. We have Total Wine, Sokolon, Zacky's, we have Kano, we have almost 4,000 wine sellers in the system. But if a winery wants to get their DTC sales, they have to go integrate with us. Otherwise, we're not going to send any traffic their way. But it's free. It's free. So if they don't do it, I can't help any more than that. That's really kind of where I've come to in my career.
Right.
Yeah.
What else can I do? No, you know what? But honestly, and I know you know this as well as anybody. If it's not easy for them, they're not going to do it, right? Because there are, especially large or small, right? There is no free time, right? So
yeah,
once they're set up, then you set your point of sale set, it sucks the information and you're off and running.
Exactly. It's ongoing. And look, this is the same exercise. That's why we followed the Google shopping feed, because if you want to be a sophisticated online business now, or even decently online, you should probably be doing stuff to Google too, right? And so if we figured if we should follow that big international standard, there's a good carrot for them to do it. It's helping them modernize anyways, and we're making it easy. But like I said, we also went to every major system out there.
Yeah.
And certain systems were terrible and decided they didn't want to integrate because they're actually not sophisticated. So the systems are holding wineries back. Most major e-commerce systems outside of wine automatically create a Google shopping feed or have feeds to connect to. So this tells a deficiency in our system.
So you just said something and begs a follow-up question. So it's free.
Yeah.
You get on a platform for free. Okay. But I know you're spending a ton of money out there, building these systems. I mean, you've put together an incredibly talented team of professionals. So for the businessman out there, he's going, okay, what's the catch, Paul? Like, how does Pix make money? Because you need to make money.
Yeah. So we follow the same model as another little company I'm sure you've heard of called Google, right? It's free to be on Google, right? I mean, it's free to be on Google. But if you want to be at the front of the line, or you want to be presented with the way that you think you live in the world, you pay your fast pass, almost as keyword bidding model, right? And we'll evolve to the keyword. We'll have some incremental steps on the way there, but our ultimate goal is to have keyword bidding. And the same thing in the supermarket. When you scan a bottle of wine, that's a search.
Yep.
And then you have the organic result. They'll show up next to it. And again, another keyword purchase. You're like, hey, when the wine that I know I compete against is scanned, I want to be at least in the consumer's mind.
Yeah.
That place. So that's why it also makes it very pure. The big wineries aren't buying keywords for the little wineries. They don't want to, butter Chardonnay isn't buying Kistler's keywords, and Kistler isn't buying butter Chardonnay, and right. German Riesling isn't buying Uruguayan Tannat, and vice. So even the ad buys are pretty pure because wineries know what they compete with. Am I an unoaked Chardonnay or am I an oak Chardonnay? What's my price point? What's my region? Because that's when the consumer's in that buying set. That's where they're most likely to move adjacently.
Interesting. Yeah. I think just another learning that will start to come to fruition right over time, where what kind of keywords are being used most often, and how is that changing over time? I mean, it's just,
for sure,
it's fascinating.
Yeah. And the keywords there's so many variations, but I think to make it simple for wineries, and every winery knows that we sell by product, right? And they know what two products that their wines, their Chardonnay, their Pinot, their Sauvignon Blanc competes at the price point by the region. They know what the flavor profiles are. In fact, they probably know it more better than most wine experts, because they comp set themselves all the time against that from a quality and a price standpoint.
Are you focusing just on domestically produced wines, like in the first phase, or just you're going all in?
So it's anything that's sold in the United States,
okay,
which is huge. So as you know, in the database, we have about 250,000 approximately products, and we have millions of offers that will ladder up to those products that we have to match against that. That's the hard job, and we spent most of the money on this last year.
Yeah. And
by the way, the better data we get from wineries, the cleaner data, the more they give us, the better we're able to match their products so that we get the most sales for them as well. And at the end of the day, we're letting the wineries change their own message on the site. They control what's said on their producer page for free. They control what's said on their product page for free. But they have to do the work. And what we're going to do, the reward structure is this, George. If you have product information, we're going to show you higher in the search results. So for example, if someone searches for Cabernet, anyone that doesn't have product content is going to go to the bottom of the list, right? Yeah. And that's the way we reward people that help the consumer out, not us, the consumer.
Well, I think for the wineries out there, they can certainly wrap their heads around, using a simple website as an example, right? If you've got just a crap website that's 10 years old and you don't have it tagged up right, you're not going to show up in the search. So it's not unlike that, right? The more you put into your profile, the better your chances are of showing up when a consumer's searching for something that might be, a connection for you.
That's right. And the good news is they're going to see over the next, let's call it 2.5, 3 months, major traffic deals with major publications. With when they rate the wine, they go to Pix to buy it. So, it's a good reason for wineries to get their DTC there connected, because they can get free sales right out of the gate.
Yeah. Well, good segue to my next question, which is, the third leg of the stool. So you've already, you're out there, the wineries. This is another example. We're going to continue to tell wineries what Pix is, who Pix is, what you're doing, why you need to be involved. You talked about the retailers that you've already connected with. Talk to me a little bit about the consumer acquisition and where you are, consumer acquisition, adoption. Tell me a little bit about where you are with that and what we can expect to see and over the next year or so.
Yeah. So we've been in closed beta until about 4 weeks ago. Okay. So about 7,000 people that are Pix people approximately in total. And we're encouraging them for higher usage, and that grows every day. Thanks to our content team, who's been putting out some amazing content. As you know, everything from Boda Box to Petrus is their job to inspire people to buy. The wheels are going to really come, we're really going to turn on the jet fuel in January when we open it. We take down that sign in. So right now we're kind of limiting people coming in so that we can learn more to make the perfect engine, but we have a ton of traffic deals. And what's really interesting about us is we're probably the only, universal friend to everybody, right? I'm the friend to the retailer. I don't compete against them. I don't sell wine.
Right.
I'm the friend to the winery. Again, my job is to help them expose their brand and help them with direct or indirect sales through the retailer. Yeah. And I'm the friends of all of the publications because I don't compete with them. Our content program, while it's really great, is in between spaces. Our job is to help facilitate the orders when a consumer gets inspired by, let's call it Decanter. Yeah. When they're inspired, Decanter has a tough time sending them where to buy. That's my only job. That's my one and only job. And so I'm going to keep doing that better and better.
Well, you've got those other friends. I think it's probably safe to say that ultimately your best friend might be the consumer and vice versa, right? When it's all said and done.
That's exactly right. We are consumer centric in everything we do. The job is how do we make it better for the consumer?
I want to ask you a little bit about, you sort of also launched into the editorial world.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, because you got great articles coming out and some are whimsical and some are very serious. And tell me about that a little bit, or tell our audience about that.
Yeah. So we believe that discovery platform, that's what we call ourselves, is done in 3 ways, right? One is search. I know what I want. Let me help you discover the way to buy it, where it's at, other things to buy. The other one is through making things small, right? Collections, right? Bringing it into smaller bundles, best wines with dogs on the label, wines that you will love that you can't pronounce, best Chardonnay under $20. And that's really a fun exercise. It's like organizing end stacks in a supermarket, and then content to trigger someone to go, wow, I've never heard of volcanic wines, or wow, maybe I should try box wine. That's interesting for me. And that's in between moments just to help them come back to the search engine and do those other discovery points. I've never been a publisher before. I've learned a lot about it. It's a very challenge. It's the only department in this company that I don't actually touch. It's actually truly editorial separation of church and state. They write what they write, but their mandate is to make it a big tent and everything from Boda Box to Petrus. So, we're not narrow cast on that piece. Super talented writers. The other thing that their job is in that big tent, if you look at the writers outside of the editorial team there, we want to show representation of everyone. We want women to be seen drinking. We want every shape of the rainbow. We want every age group, because that's what hasn't been really done, is representation in that piece. Whether it's, an old white man with gray hair or, an African-American woman trying wines. We want that to be part of the story because it'll help make wine a bigger tent and bring people into it.
Well, I think it's just super smart, right? Because one shoe does not fit all. And you have assembled a terrific lineup of writers. And like I said, the editorial it's all over, but it's all good, and I'm enjoying reading those. Paul, I'm very excited about this. I'm super excited for you and your team. For the wineries that are interested in getting on the platform, tell us about next steps.
Yeah, so we're a human company. I think most of the wineries know me. You can always email Paul at Pix.wine. The head of trade, Joe Fattorini, who is the star of the wine show, is moving to California next week. He'll be here. And so Joe at Pix.wine also. But we want to be human. We want able to answer the phone call. You can email any one of our people in the company. Obviously we don't affect the editorial side, so you have to email them without emailing us. But hi at Pix.wine also gets them. We all are on that chain. Every single employee on the company is on that chain to go help and delegate and roll our sleeves up and help the wineries out in any way we can, whether they don't like the description of the wine they had, or they want to get an integration, or they want to talk to us about crazy ideas around how we should organize the wines. We know that wineries are not only producers, they're also consumers of the product. So 2 ears, one mouth. That's the way we want it.
I love that. And of course, I could probably also go to Pix.wine, right? And there's
sure.
And do that, of course. And we'll put up a little slide here for our audience that they don't have to go back and rewind to get those email addresses. Paul, I'm super excited. I think this is going to be terrific. Joe's great. He's a force to be reckoned with. It's just the biggest personality ever. So it'd be good to have him in the neighborhood. Yeah. Any other parting messages, Paul, before we call it good?
No, I think that the last thing I want to say is, look, I think everyone knows me, and I've been really pushing to help the wine industry out, and I've done a lot of this effort on my own. This is going to take all oars in the water. This is a big village effort, and I'm going to help as much as I can. I'm going to reward the people that participate the best. I'm going to put them at the front of the line, and I hope everyone gets in there so that we can, really break down these barriers and actually drive sales. And make this easier to sell online, because it's hard, and make it easier for a winery to touch a customer in Boston or in Austin through the mobile phone and affect a sale right there where it's important, at the restaurant or in the retailer. But I need their help. I need them to really step up this time and really take ownership of the internet together with me. And I will do my best. I will work 24/7 to get them there.
Yeah, I know you will. I mean, you've been working 24/7 for a long time. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do for our industry. And again, I wish you all the luck in the world. I know this is going to be a game changer, and I'm super excited from a friend perspective and from a colleague perspective to see how things unfold over the next 18 to 24 months. So great to see you. And I want to thank everyone in our audience again for joining us. Pix.wine, get your winery on the platform and be a part of where we're going. Thanks, everyone.